The transfer market is cooked. It's been cooked for a number of years. Better yet, the transfer market is fucked. 100 plus million for Elliot Anderson, 100 plus million for Morgan Rogers. Tonali looks like he's going to be moving ever closer to Tottenham Hotspur. That's 100 odd. West Ham got relegated and they've commanded a fee of 85 million, and the majority of it up front for obviously Mateus Fernandes. Now we've got two dynamics. We either pay the going rate or we scout these guys before they end up where they end up. You know, when Aston Villa do want to sell Morgan Rogers, considering the initial fee they spent buying him from Middlesbrough to now look at it, Krupi might not leave Bournemouth this summer, but the fee they spent to where it's going to be now. Elliot Anderson ain't been at Nottingham Forest that long, the money they're going to make. So you either find the names I've said there, or, you know, what I'd prefer is a Mo Salah when he's in Italy, Sadio Mane when he's in Liverpool, the Gundogan, the Kevin De Bruyne's, the Rodris, when it feels like they're all kind of attainable at the clubs they're at prior to them going, you know, I said a lot of City players or Liverpool in Salah's case, where they end up, and the fees. You got two options. It's quite simple. You pay the going rate or you scout. And I am starting to lean towards, you know what, scouts do your job, man, because I do rate Barcola. I do like Barcola, not to get a Noni Madueke, but, you know, and I know it's not as easy as this, but I would have rather have signed Barcola than Noni Madueke because, you know, Noni is really just unrealized potential type of thing. I think they're the kind of gambles, but 100 odd million, again, if the penny drops, it looks like a stroke of genius. Barcola would be a world-class player. Now, he did well. He obviously scored against Sweden, but I think you're lying if you say he was moved. And there's a couple of things. Across the 90 minutes, really and truly what's going on, when the games open up and there's a lot of space, Barcola is going to score goals. Decision-making isn't quite there. That's very different from the low blocks and deep blocks. For what it's worth, I'm having Barcola, I'm having Rodgers. It's just, don't think because you want the guy that, you know, he's perfect and things like that. Of course, there's unrealized potential and he's a bit of a polished diamond, but don't put him on a level that he's ultimately not. That's not me criticizing him. It's just a fact. Don't put him on a level he's not if we do sign him and then you're acting disappointed, really and truly. You need to accept players for what they are, man. But yeah, smash the like button. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And of course, in some cases, good night. I thought I'd go live before I go to the gym. I'm trying to go to the pub for England versus Congo. That's going to be a decent game. So yeah, what we say, man, transfer values have gone in it. And for me, this is where you got it. Scouting has never been more important, man. Hyper, as the man has said, smash the likes. T, appreciate you. Big up the Canadians. 6:40 a.m. in Toronto. Sadiq, one love. I did enjoy my vacation, but we're back. Blackgate, one love. And my guy Marcel, man, appreciate you. Man said early morning waffle session with Deluded. Get the talking points in, man. In your opinion, DG, you ain't find a wife in Croatia. Listen, allow me, bro. A wife, a holiday, that's crazy. But get me. I don't want to talk too much too early, but come on, man. The squad that I was with, there's bare Messis and Iniestas and Xavis. Things are going on, man, but I don't want to incriminate myself. In your opinion, is Barcola or Rodgers for those fees better than what Zolosis could offer at 40 million? 100%. I do think they can. You know, I do like Barcola. I do like Rodgers. But at the end of the day, bro, it's not only the transfer fee. It's the way they want the deal package. You know, they want the majority of it up front. They probably want attainable goals and things like that. I think it's two different things. Like Zolis for 40 odd million. Scouts do your job. You come here, you compliment us. I'm all for that, man. I am really conflicted. I want both Rodgers and Barcola. So do I. But it depends, because I would prefer Morgan Rogers in it. I like Barcola, and I keep saying it. You see, I hate to use, like, if the penny drops. I think Barcola would bang at Liverpool, bang at Arsenal, bang at PSG. He'd bang at, you know, PSG's obviously there, and half the teams he's linked with. If he were to have better decision-making in the final third, get more goals, get more assists, then you've got a world-class player, probably one of the best. You know, if he could do that, that's the only thing you're missing from being one of the best left wingers outright or left inside forwards in the world. If I'm honest with you, based on what we need, it probably makes more sense for Barcola, because you can see, yeah, he could play up front. He could play on the right. We need a left winger. He's that. With Morgan Rogers, as I said yesterday, if you were to look at it, name your starting at your strongest 11 if everyone's fit at Arsenal, and Mikel Arteta's strongest 11 at Arsenal. Morgan Rogers probably gets in off the left, but is that him long term? Don't get twisted. Throughout the course of the season, I do think he can mix and blend. I would want him to play off that left. I think he can make the Odegaard role his own, if I compare him and Eze, as well as Odegaard. I think off the ball, Arteta would love him. I think he could play in the pivot. I think one thing that goes underestimated at Arsenal, where the Morgan Rogers links, is can fucking play off the right-hand side. And if you've got Saka doing the business, you've got Max Dowman, you've got Morgan Rogers who could play there, and you've got Noni mixing and blending, where we're looking at 50, 60 games a season. I'm all for that. But if I'm honest, Barcola is probably the one that makes more sense. I'd prefer Rodgers. It's almost like the rhetoric with, we've been linked with Alex Scott, right? It's the same. I like Alex Scott. I think his age is on his side. I think what I've seen with you at Bournemouth, how Areola was coaching you, I think there's a lot of things that will make it work at Arsenal, if I'm honest. But you're almost like a Swiss Army knife. And on one hand, you've got to be versatile. Those are attractions. But again, using the same topic of the strongest 11, where does Alex Scott fit? Is it quite? It's not quite in the pivot. It's not quite in the 10. It's not quite off the wide roads. So again, like the Tonali's and Bruno Guimaraes would make more sense if you use Alex Scott. And obviously, going back to your question, Rodgers, really and truly, we need both in it. But the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. Same DJ. I think Rodgers better overall footballer, but Barcola is a very good left winger. But then, if I'm honest, I do think he's better than Noni Madueke. I do think he's better than Martinelli. But I do think it's the same thing where I like what I see. I like what I see with obviously Barcola. I like what you are at the moment. You're a good player with the potential to be great, but potential don't mean nothing to me now. You got to realize it because we're trying to retain titles and things. And what I mean by the same thing as Madueke and Martinelli is you get into goal scoring positions, you provoke havoc. But if there's 3 actions that result in a goal, you do 2 of the 3 on a consistent basis. Well, you don't really do the 3rd one. So I think we'd be having the same conversations. Big up Marcel, smash the likes, quality content over here. It is apparent that Rodgers is who Berta and Arteta want, so I'm good with it, even if Barcola is the more natural winger. To not get both or either, better yet, would be a shame. So yeah, man, I'd be all for it. But again, with Rodgers, it comes down to money because on the face of it, oh yeah, Villa are struggling because of wages and financial fair play and all of that crap. But at the end of the day, he signed a new deal in November, so he's contracted for 5 years. The dynamics of the market and the English tax and everything, you got to go for 100 plus. If he doesn't go to Arsenal, he'll go somewhere else. So they've got that strongest position. And obviously, Aston Villa are in the Champions League next season. They won the Europa League. He's had 2 good seasons back to back. He's an appreciating asset. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it's a thing where they price Morgan Rodgers out of a move this summer. And I still think he'd go for 100 million, but they're talking about 130, right? Probably goes for 100 odd million quid. It's a game of chess to a degree because obviously we don't know what's going on in the back burners. Of course, the selling club's going to want a bit more. The buying club's going to want to pay a bit less. So it's a game of poker at this moment in time. And it does feel when we go for these talents, it is a bit of a long drawn out process, isn't it? When we're trying to get level raises or them kind of things. Gyökeres was drawn out, Eze was drawn out, Rice was drawn out, etc., 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 etc. If I'm honest with you. So we'll have to see, man. And obviously you got the World Cup. Not quite sure how you look at the World Cup playing a part because, yes, granted, before the World Cup, people were moving. After the World Cup, no doubt, or when countries get eliminated, if and when, whatever players are linked with moves will get their club future sorted. And there has been movements during. And I do wish we had Morgan Rodgers wrapped up in it. There's a bunch of players that have completed moves during the World Cup, in it, if I'm honest. Mateus Fernandes, is he with? I'm sure he's with the Portugal squad. So that would be him, man. As a guess, what do you think Krupi would cost to get out of Bournemouth? I think this summer 100 million. I think this, even with Alex Scott, like you're looking at 60 odd million. They want to put a release clause for 75. Why? Because they can say, do you know what? If you really want him that bad and don't want to negotiate, run us our 75. If not, you're going to have to deal with us. And if I'm honest with Krupi, I understand if Arsenal, Liverpool, PSG, Chelsea, everybody's been linked with you. I understand if you're enticed. A big carrot for Bournemouth was, we can get this guy. He can help us in the short, medium, and long term. We'd love him to stay as long as he wants. But yeah, we're going to get him for low. We're going to sell him for significantly more. Like, obviously, to many fans, like many players, Krupi is an unknown entity. No one ain't watching Lorient, but he was seen as a guy rated there. And also, stability is a thing. I do think with young players, you have a good 5 minutes in the game. There's a rush to make these moves. I'm not going to be disrespectful to Bournemouth and say you're not developing without pressure, but naturally, Krupi has a significantly less pressure than if he's at Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United, Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain, etc., etc. You can develop, you can apply your tried, and even if you play your tried and you can learn your thing, even with that, I'm so sure like it hasn't been smooth sailing at Bournemouth because I remember Areola gave an interview, and if you're a Liverpool fan, you probably get encouraged by this. He said with Krupi, we're not focusing on his finishing and scoring goals and all of that kind of stuff. Why? Because he's good at it. It's all off the ball positioning, defensiveness and whatnot, to the point where Areola said I couldn't get him in the side with a lot of the attacking players because it would disrupt the balance. He's changed that. So I think it would make sense to stay at Bournemouth. You show you're not I know you're not a flash in the pan, but you had a very good debut season in the Premier League with Bournemouth. Show that, that ain't a fluke. Your price tag's always going to go up. Obviously, Bournemouth have signed several players and sold them on, and they'll no doubt do the same. They're playing in Europe as well. So just cool off, if I'm honest with you, man. Yo, DG, you don't have to say the price, but is the airline ticket expensive to Croatia? Nah. Couple £100. Mm-mm. Not at all. Buying in a seller's market, but hey, we got a league to retain, so if it takes big fees, so be it. Yeah, and you could argue, obviously, if scouts do the job and we find these exciting players, great, but you could argue, if anything, it makes more sense to do that now. Now, I know there's a lot of factors that kind of dislodge what I'm about to say, and I am being a bit silly here, but the one thing that would make me put the 130 million down on Rodgers, whether he's worth it or not, is that what? You bought Kai for 65, right? That's 65. 95 if you look at Marino now. You throw in 50 on Noni Madueke. Again, my maths is poor, but 3 players, when you look at it like that, and they're all valued squad players, and I'm not dissing none of them. Kai should done his thing for us. Marino's chipped in. Noni last of the reballs. It is what it is. But when you look at it like that, can you really begrudge if you did spend 130 on Morgan Rodgers? For us, it depends how far we want to go. In an ideal world, you get it done for 85. Arsenal have to have the talking points that ideally we get it for 100 million, just short of Declan Rice, maybe a 110, absolute one, max 120. It depends how badly do they want Rodgers. Not just if they like him. How badly do they want him? How badly do they think he's a level raiser and things of that ilk? If we want to play for X Factor, if he's the guy, he's the guy. Just have to pay it. And I think that's where we're at as well, Adam. Queen of the South, one love. I have the feeling Kroopy will stay one more season at Bournemouth. I hope so. Because then I said yesterday, I think the striker thing for us, unless there's a market opportunity, the striker thing for us where we're talking about centre mid, we're probably going to get a backup goalie. We've got our eyes on a defensive reinforcement. Central midfield, if I haven't said that. Obviously, left wing is the one. Let's have it right. That it's been too long now where we haven't solved that. I think those are the priorities. So I do think the striker thing is going to get parked off. Of course, if Kroopy is available, it's an emerging asset. That might be an opportunity far too good to turn down. Obviously, just as an example, we're not getting Julian Alvarez, but we're quite fond of him. He wants out of Atletico Madrid. It might have made sense. I think the striker thing is for next season, man. I'm choosing a better footballer. Hopefully, Arteta makes it work if we play Rodgers as a left winger. But there's a reality. Rodgers, Odegaard, Eze, they could all fill in out wide, particularly 2 of the 3, not necessarily Odegaard. Like, I'm all for it, man. I'm actually all for it. And again, based on what I saw last season, it's predictable we're going to be dealing with injuries. Like, everybody had injuries. People lost form. I wouldn't be against it. I think Rodgers is more of a natural fit to play as an inside forward than Eze, because Eze, not that Rodgers can't and doesn't want to do it, but he's more on running in behind and taking on his man. Eze is a bit more cuter with it. He wants to come inside and play in congested spaces and play little neat 1-2s and things of that ilk, people. So, yeah, it is what it is in that regard. Smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't, people. Let's get into exactly what's going on in the market. Sammy Motebell has spoken, and we're going to read the article again, but Arsenal view Bradley Barcola as an alternative to Morgan Rodgers after receiving encouragement that the PSG forward might be available this summer. Rodgers is a leading target, but recent reports indicating 130 million valuation would prove a stumbling block. So immediately off the bat, what do you think of that? Arsenal consider Barcola as alternative to Rodgers. Arsenal expected to step up their interest in Paris Saint-Germain's Bradley Barcola this week after receiving encouragement that the forward could be available this summer. BBC Sport understands reps of Arsenal who have been tracking Barcola for some time intend to watch him again in France's World Cup last 32 against Sweden on Tuesday, in which we all watched that. Elise, absolutely amazing. Mbappe, absolutely amazing. Saliba versus Gyökeres. I'm not going to lie, initially, I thought Gyökeres was having the better of Saliba and Upamecano, but as France looked to take control, it went left, innit? So, yeah. England forward Morgan Rodgers is 23, is a leading target, but recent reports have indicated Aston Villa value him at 130 million, which would prove a stumbling block. But Rodgers is not the only attacker on Arsenal's radar, with Barcola also 23 viewed as a strong alternative option by the Gunners recruitment staff. Now, at 23, you can still develop and things, but I do believe, and agree with what Wenger said, once you get to 23, 24, you are getting to that scenario with what you see is what you get. So when is the penny going to drop? If I'm PSG, I'm trying to be greedy. You know, they're going to get Yann Diomande. They're getting that lad from Monaco. They've got a bunch of attackers, you know, the riches that we'd all take all of their attackers in it. I'd be looking to keep Barcola. Initial reports this summer said he had a year left on his deal. I think this article says it here. He's contracted until 2028. So they've got 2 years to convince him. They could sell him next summer, essentially. Yann Diamande's protracted move to PSG might have implications for Barcola's future. Barcola's current deal with the Champions League holders expires in the summer of 2028, meaning any move for the winger would cost significantly less than Rodgers, whose Villa contract runs until 2031. If PSG are willing to listen to offers for Barcola this summer, then Arsenal will be among the clubs keen, with Liverpool also believed to be tracking him. Meanwhile, Arsenal also have a strong interest in Leeds goalkeeper Elie Emilier. I think he's shit. If I'm honest, I think he's shitter than Kepa. Fair enough, free transfer, 26 years of age. You know, I do think he's one of the youngest players to record 11 clean sheets. I don't think he's significantly improved since he still plays like a teenager. He's a decent shot stopper and he's got good height, but commanding from crosses, promoting calmness to the back line, ball playing, I just think he's got a mistake in him. I technically think he leaves Leeds he was their first choice keeper once upon a time. He's their third choice. I'll give everybody a chance. I understand if it's a market opportunity, it's difficult to find, a backup keeper. I just don't rate him, people, at all, if I'm honest with you. And Mikel Arteta, I'm not going to lie. If we get to a League Cup final, Ryan needs to play every game possible, man, unless it's the last game of the season. There is a doubt over current second-choice keeper Kepa's future heading into next season. We know him and Norgard are going to go, resulting in Arsenal exploring the market for a replacement. Millier, who lost his place as number one at Leeds, is out of contract this summer, and the 26-year-old is available on a free transfer. Been at Leeds for a number of years. This is said Arsenal are ready to test PSG's resolve over Bradley Barcola. He started against Sweden. PSG are working on moves for other attackers. They've sold Kang and Lee to Atletico Madrid. Ramos has gone to AC Milan, and Juventus look like they're going to get Kolo Muani. That has given them financial room to work on Diamande and Akaluche while not having to lose Barcola. Are we really doing smash the like? But are we really doing this for PSG? I understand it don't matter how much money you've got. It's nice to make money in it, and they're getting these players going and making money. But really, they haven't specifically said it. But really, PSG, regardless of if they sell these players or not, they're not struggling financially. They're always going to have financial muscle room and wiggle room because aren't they getting the Diamande deal sorted regardless of what's going on with Barcola? Barcola, however, has yet to decide his future. He's not inclined to sign a new deal and knows Liverpool are very keen on his signature. Liverpool wanted him last year. Arsenal discussed Morgan Rogers at Villa, but they're reluctant to sell and will point to a British transfer record figure if pushed. Equally, PSG would want a similar fee for Barcola if he tries to force their hand to go. So 100+ million for both. Arsenal's pattern under Berta is to run parallel negotiations until deals fall into place. Similarly, they have bid for Newcastle's Bruno Guimaraes, but have inquired for Alex Scott. They've also been offered Club Brugge winger Zolis and spoken to the reps of Bayern Leverkusen's Kerem Alabegovic, who I think Bayern Leverkusen actually bought him back. Very talented 18, 19-year-old. Crucially here, Arsenal are looking to bring in around 4 new players, but all of high quality. So you've got to be prepared to pay the fees. Barcola certainly fits the bill, but the Gunners believe he would be keen to join, but they won't be the only suitors. I mean, pretty girls, everybody wants them in it. We're not going to be alone for Rodgers, Barcola, Nico Williams, this one, that one, and the third people. So cracking on. Arsenal giving encouragement to sign 116 million Liverpool target instead of Morgan Rogers. Where's this encouragement? Okay, so you're just regurgitating the same thing we saw the BBC's article. Anyone having Antonio Nusa? Reactionary, but we have been linked with him before. One of the articles won't load, people, but apparently Leipzig want to let him go for 60-odd million. Reactionary, but we have been linked with him. Had a decent game against Ivory Coast and scored an electric kind of goal. I'm sure Odegaard could give a good character reference. And he is a right-footed left winger, really and truly. So if you know what? Bring me Morgan Rogers and Nusa, really, if I'm honest. If there's anything around Barcola, I think Rogers could force his way out of Aston Villa. It won't be easy. I think PSG want to keep Barcola for another season, and he would have to really kick up a fuss. Nusa was at the Emirates, people, visiting our stadium in January. Now, he could have just been in London and thought, let me catch a game, but maybe there's something there. Obviously, we've gone over Millier. The 26-year-old's been linked with us. Odegaard, big him up. Norway are flying in the World Cup. He's just the third player since 1966 to provide an assist in each of his 3 World Cup appearances. And you know what? Brazil, Norway, Gabriel Magalhaes against Haaland is going to be great. And I think, yesterday for Norway was confirmation people don't watch football. Because, Haaland weren't really scoring goals and that, and he did score the goal that took them through, but he put in a fucking effort defensively. I'll give him that. Odegaard, you had some good moments where you look threatening, but you probably should have had a goal and assist, in my opinion. So commiserations to Gyökeres. That's the end of the World Cup journey for him. Relevant but irrelevant. I found it quite interesting that Ajax can confirm that Jaros, Tomiyasu, and Zinchenko will leave the club when their contract expires June 30th. Tomiyasu just got there. Zinchenko definitely just got there in January. Anyone want to spin it back for Tomiyasu? Obviously, where you think of Tommy, there's injuries. Not sure what that is, people. Sky Sports have said Alex Scott now appears to be a 2-horse race between Man United and Arsenal. However, Bournemouth still don't want to sell him and would rather he sign a new contract. He'd be a dream for both of them. He'd be good. You know, Man United's a massive club. Arsenal's a big club. It would make sense. I do look at it with a pinch of salt, though, because, I mean, it's, you know, we've inquired, and I'm sure everybody's inquired. But he's got 2 years left on his deal. He's on the cusp of England. Obviously, if you're, you know, Alex Scott's camp, you're going to put feelers out into the media. Oh, United want him, Arsenal want him, Chelsea want him, this one want him, you know, where contract negotiations are rumbling. My guess is he signs a new deal with that release clause, if I'm brutally honest. Okay, this is being an enemy of progress, as is this. Okay, well, for some reason you're not loading. Fabrizio Romano has revealed that Arsenal are making very good progress on a certain aspect of Morgan Rogers' deal, but Aston Villa's asking price remains high. We know we're looking to strengthen in certain areas. Martinelli and Trossard could be on the move again. You know what? I'd like us to be linked with some new names because it is just Barcola and Morgan Rogers. Let's see exactly what Romano said. Arsenal also have an interest in Barcola, but their number one option remains Morgan Rogers. For Rogers, Aston Villa want to put a price around 130 million to let him leave this summer. Villa are aware of Arsenal's interest and of interest from other clubs, including Chelsea. But in this moment, Arsenal have made very good progress on the player side for some time. And so Arsenal keep pushing for Rogers. Rogers is on the list. Sorry, Barcola is on the list. But for Rogers, this depends on the price because Aston Villa want 130 million. But Arsenal hope to find a way to negotiate, maybe with add-ons, maybe with a different structure. Arsenal hope to be creative in order to find a solution for Rogers. I mean, we got to sell some players then, because if you were to bite the bullet and spend 130 million, maybe if you get Trossard, Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus, Reece Nelson, Fabio Vieira, and whatever collective transfer fee you get and wage resources you get, that might give you some wiggle room to just, you know, to just bite the bullet, essentially, if I'm brutally honest. I like Nusa of Norway, man. I'd have him, man. What a finish from Nusa, by the way. Guy tends to stand out every time I watch him, which admittedly isn't much. At this rate, City is going to buy the Prem this summer. Morning Social. DJ, has the market ever had this much activity during the World Cup before? I may have a short memory, but this kind of feels wild. I agree. I don't want to jump the gun and say, no, it hasn't. But it feels like I agree with you, if it makes sense. Said this every window when we go in for a player. The market is inflated, but when we sell, it's a different story. It's a big racket for the right club. It pays to be smart. Brighton, Bournemouth, Brentford, I'd say Crystal Palace. The last one at the moment probably going to be Adam Wharton, maybe the Manus guy. You get these players in, jump the market, they're sold for silly money. It's the same with Kvaratskhelia. His agent said I offered him to every major team in Europe, so that includes us. No one wanted him for 10 million. He went Napoli, did his thing. PSG were prepared to bite the bullet and pay whatever. Bob's your uncle, essentially. And even that, man, we need to find a Doué or Mahrez, these kind of guys, like when they're emerging, man. I don't know how PSG sold Ramos for that price. I wish we could sell our unwanted players that well. This is what, but I think that's a big mandate for Berta, if I'm honest. Nusa, Doué, or Barcola for left wing. Need some flair down that side. You know we ain't getting Doué, man. If we were to get Doué, we'd probably get his brother that was playing fullback for Ivory Coast, which he had a good game in their defeat to Norway. Arsenal should go and steal United keeper Lamens, stop them building. Yeah, it's not going to work because they're not going to sell him. Lamens a decent keeper. Actually, United have got a keeper that can catch, you know, which the Turkish lad they had in Onana couldn't. Why would you come to Arsenal and be second choice? Because you're not getting ahead of Rayo. You don't make sense. If we sign Bruno G and Rogers, Villa and Newcastle supporters will lose it because they want their clubs to win major trophies. They see Arsenal as a rival. No to Tomiyasu, keep it moving. Sadiq, every fan wants his or her club to win trophies. I really rated Tomiyasu. He could have been something special, same with Kivio. I rated Tomiyasu a lot more than Kivio. Not going to lie, I think City purposely cooked this market. They know they can pay the fee/wages and other clubs can't, forcing them to take lesser talents or wreck their wage scale elsewhere. I think people can say Arsenal ruined it, Chelsea ruined it many years ago, United ruined it, City ruined it. Obviously, when City are giving centre-backs 300 grand a week, it is what it is, isn't it? So it has been. But this is where it's a game of chicken. Naturally, I can't begrudge. I said this yesterday. I can't begrudge Aston Villa if they're saying, well, that lad went for that much. That lad went for this much. Morgan Rogers, everybody, you lot all want him. You lot all want him. He signed a new deal. He's one of the better players in the Premier League. He's a key player to our project. He's had 2 fantastic seasons. Pay or take it away. It's not the same. And I'm not even saying I necessarily rate Martinelli to this standard, but you look at the fee of, well, who would you argue is better, Anthony Gordon or Martinelli? I think it's a lot closer. They're in the same kind of bracket. Now, I don't know. Gordon might change my thoughts with what he does at Barcelona. Big up Newcastle for hustling Barcelona for 80 million. I couldn't begrudge Arsenal if they sat there and said, we want 70, 80 for Martinelli. He's a Premier League winner. He's a Premier League winner. He's an international footballer. He scored in big games. The market is the market now, bro. Everybody's got money, whether it's because of TV rights, clubs like Brighton, Brentford, Bournemouth, being very smart, getting these players, getting stability in the Prem, selling them for profits. You can't bully clubs. Go back to the early 2000s. Man United are not paying Leicester 80 million for Maguire. We're not paying 105 million for Declan Rice, etc., etc. And even the Elliot Anderson thing, it's interesting because obviously my initial bias is I do think there's the transfer market's cooked. But if anything, you do want to pay a bit more on the match winners, the attackers. But then flipping my own logic, you could argue, obviously, Declan Rice is better than Elliot Anderson, but these are engine men in the middle of the park. You know, there's a level of consistency and you know what you're going to get. You could argue that's inflated, yes, but less of a risk than 130 on Morgan Rogers, 100 on Vert, this one, that one on the third, if I'm honest. It's only going to get worse, man. And I think we've got a couple more years of this. And then, honestly, players will always move for transfer fees. But honestly, there'll be even more free transfers. That might be the only way. Like, if you're a player, really and truly, and an advisor, better yet, an agent, are you really, these Barcolas, Morgan Rogers, this one, that one, all these kind of household names, you're not trying to get, the clubs are going to try and get you to sign a 4 or 5 year deal. You're not on that. If I'm an agent, I'm trying to get these guys to sign 3-year deals. And that's why I think Aston Villa also smart in November to tighten their negotiation. And I don't know it. On one hand, it feels Alex Scott might leave Bournemouth. On another hand, it feels like he might sign a release clause. If I'm an agent, you're getting them to sign 3-year deals. Why? Because within the next, if my client signed a 3-year deal today, 12 months, 18 months, we're already at that halfway point. Are we getting a new deal? Are we getting more money? And that's another thing, because one thing is these clubs pricing their players, quote unquote, out of moves. I don't know how much Morgan Rogers is on, but you're going to have to pay him like a £130 million player. Now, Rogers has shot himself in the foot by that logic, because November he signed a new deal. And as much as you scream, shout, you could do the mercenary thing, end of the day, you're contracted 4 or 5 years, and you're going to have to get on with it at some point, people. What else has Romano said? Arsenal had a bid rejected a few days ago for Bruno Guimaraes. Arsenal also made a call for Scott. A conversation with Bournemouth took place. The message sent by Bournemouth is, we don't need money. We already sold many players over the last 12 months, so we want to continue with Scott. And they're offering Scott a new contract with the possibility to include a release clause for a future exit. So at the moment, it's difficult to get Scott. There are still 2 months ahead, so we have to understand what's going to happen in terms of conversations if some clubs, including Arsenal, want to try again. Makes me think, should we have just, got Semenyo in January and then maybe we're just talking about Rodgers? I don't know, people. But at the moment, the situation with Alex Scott is Bournemouth want to keep him. Bournemouth received a call from Arsenal, but at the moment, they're not advancing, people. So make of that what you want. Allegedly, Bruno Guimaraes has given Arsenal permission to continue discussing a possible transfer with Newcastle United through intermediaries, people. Negotiations have started. Obviously, there's been talk of verbal offers of around 60-odd million quid. The Daily Mail reported that Arsenal are weighing up a second bid for Guimaraes, who's currently at the World Cup competing with Brazil. He is contracted until he is 29 years of age. I think he's got 2 years left on his contract. So, yeah, age might place a factor, but I'm sorry, 28, 29, it's not 99, is it, people? Why are you lot hating on me? Okay. And Antonio Nusa is a key player for Norway and an important figure for RB Leipzig. He's not considered untouchable this summer, but Leipzig would prefer to keep the 21-year-old. Asking price is 60 million euros or more. Now, Leipzig made it difficult for United to get Sesko. They made it difficult for us where we walked away. However, one thing remains clear. Leipzig need to make a major sell for financial reasons. No offers have come in for Ukeba yet, and the club is still determined to keep the Amande. So do we pivot away from Morgan Rogers? I think it's more so Barcola. Do we pivot away from Barcola and then get Nusa, assuming it's for 60 million euros? That gives you a bit of money to play with and be very aggressive for Morgan Rogers. You offset that with some sales, whether that is, who do we expect to leave? I think Norgard goes. And again, every little helps, whether it's from wages or a man sold for 2 million. But Norgard's gone. Kepa's gone. One of Martinelli or Trossard's gone. Probably Trossard, if I'm brutally honest. Gabriel Jesus, if we get 20 million, that's been the asking price rumours, fair enough, but it's more the wages. Nelson, we just need to get him gone. Whatever in it, like 5 million, massive sell-on clause, the wages are gone. Fabio Vieira, the same. You add that together, and maybe some other sales, maybe a Ben White or something, you've got some money to play around with, but all depends how you look at it. Manchester City, apologies, may currently have the edge over their rivals in the pursuit of Lille midfielder Bouardi, according to Ben Jacobs. No clue on the credibility of Ben Jacobs. Bouardi of Morocco is a player that they, City, are looking at very closely. Man United like him. Chelsea and Arsenal have the player on their radar, and Bayern Munich too. And this is a fascinating transfer story because Lille are prepared to sell, but they heavily favour a deal for 2027. Man City have shown they're willing to at least discuss this. That puts forward a loan back or a pre-agreement so the player can do one more season with Lille. It's 80 million at the moment, but could come down for those that say to Lille, loan back or pre-agreement. It's 100 million for other clubs that want an immediate transfer. So that's going to be one to watch. Now, I want Bouardi, don't get it twisted, but we've been priced out of Tonali in the sense that we don't think he's really worth that. Bouardi, I can't lie. As much as I wish we could, we need you for next season, innit? So we're just gonna have to charge it to the game. The 100 million and loaning him back. No, we need to go into this season. Lewis Skelly, Zubimendi, Rise, somebody else. It's making more sense to get Guimaraes. We might look back and think what could have been. Let's just find the next Bouardi, innit? I think that's madness. There's even been some rumors City are on playing him at right back. So we'll have to see if I'm brutally honest with that. Arsenal working on 6 transfer deals as bid launched in Andrea Berta plan. Really? 6 transfers? I mean, Nkapie's through the door. Football.London understands that Arsenal season ending at the latest possible opportunity because of their involvement in the Champions League combined with the ongoing World Cup have contributed to their lack of addition so far. Get to the main of it. So we've been linked with Scott, Ajabegovic, Barcola, Rogers, Zolis. So we've been linked with half a dozen players rather than going for them people. I'm not too sure, if I'm honest with you. That article sounded a lot more attractive than in reality. Man City have found a way to get ahead of rivals United, Arsenal, and Chelsea in the race for Bouardi. City keen on Bouardi with possible plan to let him stay at Lyon until the start of 2027-28. Okay. So this is really just regurgitating once again the same thing. Newcastle United now fear Bruno Guimaraes' exit as skipper entourage hooks up with super agent. It does feel, and Hand of Arsenal did allude to this, pardon me, as much as clearly there's been some level of official chattings via a third party with Arsenal and Newcastle for Guimaraes, it's mainly agent stuff forcing the issue. But allegedly, Newcastle United remain braced for contact from Arsenal on their club captain, Bruno Guimaraes, with the player's every move in the United States being followed by his agent, Alexis Malavolta. Malavolta is jetting his way around the States to show his support for Bruno, but was pictured with a key deal maker who's well known to Arsenal following Brazil's win over Japan in Houston, people. Bruno's agent is part of the Bertoli group, which is run by Giuliano Bertulli. There's football super agent who set up deals for Gabriel Magalhaes and David Luiz with Arsenal. Fellow super agent Kai Jarupkin, who's more known, was also pictured with Bruno's man, sparking fears the Toon exit is being plotted. Although the men insist they are simply good friends, Arsenal have not bid for Bruno yet. They have been told the terms of the deal and what it would probably take to snatch the ex-Lyon star from the Magpies. Newcastle Chiefs maintain Bruno was not for sale, but there are growing fears he could go this summer with a second departure in as many summers after, obviously, Isaac went to Liverpool. Talks of Newcastle having the power to extend Bruno's contract by an extra year is unlikely to concern Arsenal Chiefs, who feel a deal could be struck as they have a tipping point in mind. Having failed with a verbal 45 million offer presented by intermediaries, the Gunners believe that 65 million pounds could be enough to clinch Bruno's signature. Whether that proves to be the case and Newcastle stick to their initial stance of not selling Bruno remains to be seen, but questions above Bruno's camp remain. Most notably, whether the Newcastle captain's head has been turned by the interest from the Gunners or other departures from St. James's Park. And again, people, there's been no talk of a new deal for him. It's believed that he's concerned about the project at Newcastle after a couple of big exits. And they're probably, Gordon's gone, Isaac's gone, Tonali looks like he's gone. You never want to be the lad leaving the rave when the lights turn on, people. And I do think Newcastle have a good season next year because whenever they're not in Europe, they do well. I actually think Spurs have an outside chance of Champions League football. Not that I want to say that, people, but these are natural things. Bruno's probably, Newcastle had a tough season. You're seeing key players leave. You're question marking the recruitment. Obviously, it's conflicting because I think his daughter was born there. I know you're born in Brazil and you're Brazilian, but you might as well be a Geordie because such as they love you. You achieved history. Obviously, there's a lot of red tape about Newcastle being able to flex their financial muscles. So I would understand this, but this is just certain things he would say anyways. It sounds a bit better. Allegedly, Barcola passed his edition yesterday. I'm not even going to read that. What is this? PSG are reportedly relaxed have reportedly relaxed their transfer stance on Bradley Barcola. Apparently, people having initially ruled out any sell Barcola, it's now being reported that the French giants could be tempted into selling for the right price. Barcola appears reluctant to sign a new deal as he looks to start more games next season. Fresh reports now suggest figures in excess of 116 million that City paid for Elliot Anderson may be considered. So everybody's just saying the same things. When you look at Bradley Barcola's story, first of all, he's coming from Lyon's academy. He made the right choices. When he left, it was not easy for him. He left and he won 2 Champions Leagues in the best team in French football history. Of course, it's challenging when you're competing with Dembele and Doué to start, but he showed every time he came on that he has the same level, maybe not as consistent, but he has the potential. So he's got the potential, but you need that consistency and you need to realize your potential. Dream signing is Kvaratskhelia, man, but unfortunately, the dream is free. The house was sold separately. Smash the like button. Choosing his next destination is about whether he's ready to take a leadership role, because that will be what's expected of him. You just won the Champions League. Any club buying you will expect you to lead them to winning these kind of trophies. This is where he will be challenged. He could fit into any Premier League team. He's a very talented young player, and apparently PSG's reported stance is that he's not for sale. Let's see what's going on with Trossard. Trossard's delayed his transfer decision at Arsenal. Trossard is set to assess his future at Arsenal after the World Cup. The 31-year-old's about to enter the final year of his contract. Besiktas have made Trossard, whom they attempted to sign last September, one of their top summer targets. Sources close to the Turkish club indicate they have made a verbal offer for the winger worth 20 million euros, which equates to 17.25 million. Should the player indicate he's keen on the move, that is the kind of figure Arsenal would deem financially acceptable. For now, Trossard is firmly focused on Belgium's World Cup exploits as they gear up for the last round of 32 clash with Senegal in Seattle. His camp have already made it clear that he does not want distractions during the tournament in North America. He would be keen to see out the final year of his contract at Arsenal, but it's thought to be realistic enough to know that a transfer could well be on the cards as the Gunners are looking to recruit a new left winger, possibly 2. At this stage of his career, he wants to play regularly and has also considered that his next big contract will probably be his last one. He has drawn interest from clubs in Turkey as well as Saudi Arabia. People, Fenerbahce have also been credited with an interest, as well as Roma. Good players always going to be wanted by that. At the moment, I'm still at Arsenal, so there's not much to say about it. With what he was at, he answered when asked. He did score and help Belgium do their thing as well. What's this? Barcola's future not decided yet, as new deal talks have been on standby for 1 year. Liverpool are very keen. Arsenal have his name on the list as an alternative to top target Rodgers. PSG could let him go only in case of a big proposal. David Ornstein has conflicted what Romano has said. PSG view Bradley Barcola as not for sale, regardless of arrivals, plus reluctant to sign new contract. PSG value 23-year-old much higher than 116 million Manchester City spending on Anderson. Ramos, Lee, Koulibaly exits, create squad and financial space. Boy. It's perfectly possible that Romano and Ornstein have spoken to the same people here and have been told pretty much the same thing, but that Ornstein took it to mean that PSG are sending a hands-off message to suitors, whereas Romano may have taken it as more of a pay-up message. Okay, so moral of the story, the dream is free, the house is sold separately. We was linked with Heijman, who plays for Sport, and apparently Arsenal and City may have lost ground. Heijman agrees personal terms elsewhere. And apparently he's agreed terms with Atletico Madrid, the Sporting Lisbon captain. Oof. Ain't he got an Arsenal tattoo? Arsenal later emerged as one of the strongest Premier League contenders, as reports in Portugal suggested England had become the midfielder's most likely destination, while interest from Italy faded. Only last week, Portuguese newspaper A Bola poured cold water on reports from Spain that Atletico Madrid have already reached an agreement with Heijman, insisting no negotiations are taking place between the player and Diego Simeone's side. So it'd be interesting to see exactly what's going on, but that would be bad news for Arsenal, essentially. No clue on the credibility of this article, but nonetheless, that's what it said. So we've seen Trossard, we've gone over Nusa, we've spoken about Scott, Rodgers, Barcola. It's the same old. Watch our new Mikel Merino documentary. I will, Arsenal, I will. What's come out in the last hour? Arsenal signed a lad from Ireland, a young player. Don't appear that there's anything new in that regards, people. So yeah, what are you lot saying in the chat? Road to 100k, smash the likes, people, subscribe. Marcel, you're far too kind. Tommy was basic, competent. Bruno Guimaraes, Rodgers and Nusa free signings sound like a realistic window. Sounds a lot more realistic than some of the ones. Rashford isn't looking too bad of a bite. Nah, I'm not on the Rashford thing. I can't lie to you. The market will reset eventually, but it's going to go up a bit longer. There will be more release clauses. True. Just enjoy the window. Anything can happen. Rashford only sounds tempting because of the price. Don't be swayed. The club can afford to pay for their first chance targets. DG, there are rumors Bruno might have a release clause or a gentleman's agreement. If he's got a release clause, that's great. Gentleman's agreement. I wish in life everybody in like honored their gentleman's agreement. But if it ain't in cold-hearted writing, I's have been dotted, T's have been crossed. In business, unfortunately, they could say, what? Like what? Oh, that's how you interpret it. If it's in cold-hearted writing, legal-wise, you have to do what it is. It's good in a way. Germany, Ecuador out means our players will come back sooner in Sweden. Players/agents are taking an NBA-style contract route, shorter deals to be on the market sooner to get bigger deals. Isaac and Gyökeres had gentleman's agreement last summer. We know how problematic that was. True. I'd pay 130 for Rodgers. We can get Leao and Bruno G for 130 million combined. Are we convinced by Rafa Leao? If I were White, I'd stay. He's England international. Bar injury would have been in the squad. Leao and City have a great relationship. Should we be worried about our transfer strategy? No, because we don't know what's going on. Like, when the window's closed, God forbid, but if there's reality, we ain't got no level raises, we ain't addressed all the areas that we'd like to sign, then by all means, Berta or Arteta got to answer for stuff. But there's no point judging us at the beginning. Judge us at the end. The market's cooked, man. Spurs winning the transfer window right now. The owners, Spurs fans hate, but don't protest against may spend good money on players. Winning it, buying players is half the job, if I'm honest. I think it's a smart move to move early in the market to set the transfer fee scale or wait until the end. Yeah, but moving early, there's a lot of moving parts. What if we want to move early for Rodgers and Rodgers is saying nope after the World Cup? What if the World Cup started and Barcola's on us going, we're on coming to us quickly, we're on getting it done. PSG are playing hardball because they haven't got a replacement, quote unquote. There's a lot of information we're not privy to. It's not as white and black as we just want this player, go and get him. I'm not saying you're wrong, but there's also things we have to consider that we don't know, if I'm brutally honest. Big up Rainmaker. I would say a perfect window would be one left winger for me, Nusa, and just keep Nelly and then focus on a progressive creative midfielder and a right back. Fair. Eddie Howe needs to go. I think he's reached his ceiling. Big up DG, smash their likes. I am sure clubs are not taking risks on big money signings and they'll wait until World Cup is over. Look at Agate ACL injury. De Zerbi will do well. I don't know how good they will get, but yeah, man. Is what it is. Now, people can ask whatever the hell they want. DG, what's your ideal transfer window and which player would you like to sign if you're better? Creepy and Morgan Rodgers, if I'm brutally honest. If France win the World Cup, then fees go up for sure. Nathan, appreciate you. Star, appreciate you. Every day I like Barcola more. Every day I like Barcola a little more. This market has been confusing. Got to say, fans assume a lot, and that causes transfer angst. Fans only know so much. Exactly. And last summer taught us that, like, obviously, one thing I would love to know, in the world of football is, like, the transfers that didn't happen. Because, for our example, like, we might sign Eze, but how do you know? I'm making things up. How do you know we wasn't in talks with Ronaldinho? Like, there's so many deals you don't know, never really got off the ground. Like, last summer, we signed Noni was the first through the door, one of the first through the door. It looked a bit shaky. Eze looked within a whisker of going Spurs. Sporting Lisbon were playing hardball. We was up in arms. The window ended with, forgive me if I'm wrong, 8 players in it. So, as I said, I think the club, it's a lesson for the fans to learn. Not saying be patient for patience sake, but judge the club at the end, if I'm brutally honest. That's personally the way I'd look at it. But hey, man, it depends. It's a bit jarring though, because I would like Rodgers. PSG obviously don't need the money. Barcola only goes if he wants first team football. I do think Barcola has to force the move. I do think Rodgers has to force the move. I use the term force to move lightly because, I'm not suggesting, and I don't think they will, the mercenary thing. I'm not turning up to training. I'm doing all of this. You might have to have a conversation and say, I want to go. You might have to do the Julian Alvarez thing where there was a lot of rumors. You picked your right moment after Argentina won. I think it's best that I do a transfer. There's a lot of moving parts, man. There's a lot of things we're not privy to. Actually, in a sweepstake for a shoot I did, I got USA in the World Cup, They might have to introduce some sort of cap in the future. Unpopular opinion, if there's any cap, I want it to be on transfer fees. I don't want it. I think players and agents should earn as much as they want, because at the end of the day, people only hate. There's obviously some bad eggs. People only hate agents because they look at a good agent is going to look after their client. These clubs do not care about these footballers, bro. They don't care about you. And I'm paraphrasing. They don't care. They care about what you can do when your career's done, or I might be in my prime years. I'm getting Real Madrid want me. This club wants me. I stay at the club because I want to do things. That loyalty is not shown when I get to 30 and I want a 3-year deal or a 2-year deal and you want to give me one. The players get pennies. You're not giving man 300 bags a week and spending 100 odd million on transfer fee. If that's not essentially pennies. And if the footballers pack up tomorrow, what are we watching? I guess Wimbledon's on. So if there's a cap, it has to be on transfer fees. It can't be on it. For me, I don't want it on wages. In you lot's walk of life, you don't want. I think in you lot's whatever industries you lot work in, if there was a cap on your wages, you lot would say that's not on. We could get Bruno G and Leal for 130 instead of Rodgers. Yeah. We're looking at Esposito when Havertz got injured. Could have had him instead. There's two very different players. I swear you're talking about the striker one. We need a winger like Barcola. Don't mind the Rodgers link, but for that kind of money, might as well go for Barcola. The problem with the market is not the price. It's the fact people are paying them. There's no coincidences. The price have shot up after the Anderson deal. Is it? Well, they've been going up because you could point towards 100 odd million on Jack Grealish, 105 million on Declan Rice, whatever Tonali's going to be, 85 million on Matías Fernandes, City in general, but the last City dealings in a number of years. You can go back to when Man United were picking the best of the rest from players. Definitely Chelsea when Roman was in his pomp. You could say this, and obviously Elliot Anderson's the new one, isn't it? So you could say at several points, it's just going like that. 100 million used to be, it's mad. It still is mad, but there's several, quote unquote, 100 odd million buys or that kind of transfer fee. In my head, psychologically, I still think 50 million is a big transfer fee. I still think 30 million. I'm sure that's what Chelsea signed Shevchenko with. Whether it's inflation, whether it's the way the market's gone, like it is what it is at this point now. More money in the game means more money to spend. Exactly. Like the Premier League is up here for riches collectively, and the rest are down there. The TV right, people are getting TV right, so it's a level playing field. Clubs have done their jobs and they've sold several players, so their cash buffers are great. If you want the players, you got to pay. If not, you got to F off. It's as simple as that. It's sad to see the Americanization of the game. PSR and these spending caps are all a result of too many American owners bringing their American sporting practices to Europe. Shocking, really, that Neymar is still the world record that was nearly 10 years ago. I even forgot about that. You could say PSG effed up their game. If they lose their top players, they won't do much unless they sign well with good scouting. Who has signed players so far? Spurs, fans demanding too much. I don't think anyone's signed players where you're like, wow, yet. Fernandes and Tonali, if they go Spurs, by surprise, if I'm honest with you. I think people have made some good additions, but what big players have you seen go anywhere yet? You was all surprised by Anthony Gordon, but you ain't seen no Barcolas, no Morgan Rogers, no Elliot Anderson. Technically, we know he's getting City. Ain't been done. He ain't really seen much of them kind of signings yet. In my opinion, the deal that broke the market was Neymar's transfer from Barcelona to PSG for around 200 mil. Probably, but there's several points you could sit there and say that happened. Sounds to me that Europe have agreed to just overcharge the Prem out of spite, considering the Prem has been raiding them for years. It's like going on holiday. You're not going to pay the rate that the locals are going to pay. How much times have you seen Premier League teams go in for players? The transfer fees are mad. The player doesn't move, and they might move from Italian team to Italian team for significantly less. The Italian league is finished. I've seen Bournemouth when they went for Zinolio go toe-to-toe with AC Milan. TV rights is fucking them up. We're just getting, it's not us, but the country or the teams we support just going up and up and up. The rest are it's going tits up over there, innit? So it's looking interesting, man. It's looking interesting. But we just have to, quote unquote, remain calm. My thing is, okay, I want Rodgers. You don't get him. Sad. I like Barcola. You don't get him. Great. Just make sure that left wing is sorted. I need a left winger. I need a centre mid. I need a bit of defensive reinforcements. Those are the minimum. Because a lot of the things we've been talking about, especially around recruitment, we didn't play the last season, win the league, get to a Champions League final, League Cup final, crash out the FA Cup, and suddenly think, we need a left winger, we need this, we need that. A lot of these conversations we've had for a couple of years now, especially left wing. Like, there's many fans here. If I say we need a defender, some of you might disagree. If I say we need a centre mid, which I do believe in both, some of you might disagree. If I say I wouldn't mind a striker, some of you would disagree. I think the one fit position, and obviously we need outgoings. We'd probably agree on a lot of the outgoings. The one position that every Arsenal fan would, maybe not on the name, some might say Nico Williams, Nusa, Leal, this one, that one. The left wing has to be sorted. It has to. Owners will never allow a cap of market value. Players are considered assets on clubs' balance sheets. They will gladly cap players' wages. Facts. I feel by the end of July, we will get players. Fans got to chill. It's genuinely quiet for most clubs. Who's Real Madrid or Barcelona signed? A couple of free transfers. Gordon was probably done mid-season and Cucurella. Smash the likes, hyper appreciate you. We can complain about the prices and miss out on our targets like United and Fernandes, or let the club buy what we need to retain the title. Regardless of the price, the choice is simple to me. I hear you, Boston. But what I would say, I know Man United fans will cry about the Fernandes thing, but I actually like it. Now, obviously, if Man United don't find a replacement, they're an issue. But like United have done the thing where they've overpaid for players and got zanged. Like at least it looks like they're getting some principles. No, we're not prepared to run that money up front. All right, we live in a free world, quote unquote. You lot go where you're going. There's other targets. By the way, reminder to Marcel and other Liverpool fans, how does it feel to be rejected again Monday? Can't lie, CD. With us hoping we get Barcola and get Morgan Rogers, stay humble, man. Stay humble, because that could happen to us. It is funny, but even that, like I like Diamande. And obviously, at the end of the day, regardless of the transfer fee, if you sign, play well, nobody cares anymore. But I'm not... hindsight will be kind to a minute, but I do think 100 million is a risk on Barcola. I do think it is. I think it's less of a risk on Rodgers, to be fair, but it is a bit of a risk. I do think it's a risk on half of these names we've been talking about. Because, yeah, it's a shiny new toy, but you can't be 100% convinced you know what you're getting. Now, Diamande, it's a lot of betting on potential. Now, if it works, great. I think if Klopp was there, I would be looking at the Diamande one like, oh, you know what? That could be the V2 Mane kind of thing. So we'll have to see, man. But we do have to stay calm. Tonali to Spurs, 90 to 100 million. 100 million, well, 185 million on two central midfielders. To be fair, they got them two, Bergvall, they'll be sorted. I don't care, DG. I'll take it on the chin. Rejected FC strikes again. Stay humble, man. Please, just stay humble, because I don't want to eat humble pie. Commiserations to Nkapie. Arsenal looking to bring in around 4 new players this summer, but all of high quality. Arsenal ready to test PSG's demand over Barcola. Arsenal have also discussed Morgan Rogers, says the Daily Mail. Aston Villa reluctant to sell will point to the British record transfer figures if pushed. Equally, PSG would want a similar fee for Barcola. Commiserations to Gyökeres as stated. Congratulations to Odegaard. Brazil versus Norway is going to be a game. I tell you that, lad. I don't want Millier, man. I really don't. What's David Ornstein said here? Arsenal, a lot of people you speak to around the club actually feel that despite previously looking at players like Sandro Tonali for this summer, that Bruno Guimaraes is a better fit and complements Rice in a way some feel Tonali wouldn't. Guimaraes won't be the only option Arsenal are looking at in midfield. We've seen reports about Bawardi. It's not even clear if he will leave, Leo. It just goes to show Arsenal are looking at a 6-8 area and they're surveying the options in the market. But then forget which one you would prefer. Tonali, Rogers. Tonali, you could say Rogers, but I didn't mean to say that. Tonali, Guimaraes, Bawardi, 3, they all have similarities. They're all centre mids. But what does that tell you? They're all going to, let's just group them all in, and the medium range would be 70 to 100 million. Now, I'm not even saying that. I'm saying that to say this. This tells me Arsenal are not only prepared to buy a centre mid, but, and again, we don't know, because this could all be bullshit, but I could be somewhere laughing at these rumours, innit? This tells me we want to spend a significant bag on a level raiser in the middle of the park, which some might say, oh, you saw towards the end of last season what Lewis Skelly could do. We know what Rice brings to the table. Yes, Zubamendi fell off towards the second half of the season, but he was great. Is that the area? So it depends, man. Just make sure you come back with something. Fords appreciate you, man. I see you enjoying your holiday, bro. I'll be so real. I think this market is cooked. Prices are crazy for some places. Facts, but we're just going to have to get on with it, man. Clubs must feed journals, false rumors too, as well as agents. So we'll get 100%, bro. 100% clubs are putting things out. Agents are putting things out. Players probably got relations. If you're Romano, David Ornstein, this one, that one, bro, you've got players, agents, clubs, executives, probably family members all feeding you little bullshit. Like there's vested interest, whether that's trying to negotiate an exit, trying to move to a club. You know, there might be little dramas at clubs and you're getting your side of the story, contracts. But football's a dirty game, you know, like at all aspects. Nobody is clean. I know football fans, when they got their tribal hat on, they look at clubs as this utopia. You got to remember, the club might be, there's individuals that are human, you know. It's a dirty game. What I would say, sometimes you got to get your hands dirty to live clean. Big up CS. Can we get to 100 likes? There's 179 of you in here. If you haven't hit the like button, you're violating, man. 50 likes to the 50 of you. To the ones that haven't, it's a disgrace. Gabriel versus Haaland is a peak rivalry, man. My centre-back going to war with one of the best strikers in the world. Sign me up for the World Cup edition. Gabriel must be tapping Guimaraes up. Arteta has to order them to do it. I don't think he has to order them to do it, but he definitely gives the bird call. Pardon me. It's time for scouts to start cooking again. Buying expensive toys isn't always the answer. Facts. And this is why I don't mind scouts doing their job. Cool. When all the other players are moving to other clubs, the household names, the Tenalis, the Guimaraes, the Barcolas, the Rogers, we might look at that and get a bit jealous. And at a point of entry, some of these players, they might not wow us. But at the end of the day, buy the right players, innit? I very much doubt when Salah was signed, every Liverpool fan was gassing it and saying, oh my God, we got a level raiser. Fair to say that shit worked out. I'm sure there must have been City fans. Oh, we buying Kevin De Bruyne for? He didn't make it at Chelsea. He went Germany. What's really going on there? Fair to say that one worked out. And they've become two players that are not only legends with City and Liverpool, respectively, they're Premier League legends. So if scouts can do their job, scouts do your job. I would say the one thing that kind of shags us is we don't really, experiment's not the right word, but as much as I'm keep banging on in this live stream, get these players before they end up where they end up, have we really got time to develop these talents like that? Because as much as I'm saying scouts do the job, and some of you are agreeing with me, some of you will see a player's potential and what they could be and think you get there tomorrow. And it don't work like that. Get the likes up, or you're going to have unexpected high bills. If Villa don't want to sell, then why would they offer Rodgers at market value? They're going to price him out of the market, aren't they? 130 for Rodgers won't break our bank. We're champions. 65 years Spurs. Where's yours? Got high revenues and good SCR. What was the PSR position? I personally think Nusa would be that cheaper scouts pick, but the better he performs, the more better he becomes. For face value, again, rumors are rumors. If they're saying 60 million for Nusa, for me personally, I could understand if you're saying, yo, fight tooth and nail for Barcola, bring Nusa. Me, I'm saying, you know what? Let's get some sales gone. Nusa, let's get that in for 50, 60 million euros. Let's really fight tooth and nail to get Morgan Rodgers. Get some sales gone. Throw Guimaraes, Nusa, and what's the other one I said? Guimaraes, Nusa. I've lost my trail of thoughts. Rodgers in the bag, man. Let's just keep it moving, man. And just go get the backup. Go get the backup goalie. Get me another versatile defender. Put on the whiteboard for 2027-28 striker. Keep it moving. Could Arteta do with Barcola what he did with Sane? Let me dream. I hope so, but the only thing, I like Barcola, and I think he's worth betting on his potential. But then I don't like to bet on potential. I like to consider people for what they are. And what you are is open space. I think you'd be well. I think like Martinelli and Noni Madueke, you would incredibly frustrate me. That consistency wouldn't quite be there. And to be honest with you, one thing that I think goes against Barcola, I know we're at different stages with different players, but in isolation, Barcola is not bad. But suddenly when you've got Barcola, you're not bad. Martinelli, you're not bad. Noni Madueke, you're not bad. But there's a bit of churning out. When you've got three of them, I guess what I'm alluding to is, had I have seen like the players that we need to realize potential, had they have done that already, I'd be more receptive to it. Is Creepy worth it after just one good season? He's young still. Probably not, but I think he is. I'm not going to cap. I think he is. I really believe in Creepy's potential, but I don't think we're in for him. If he does move this summer, maybe we are. You never know. Berta likes to juggle many a spinning plate, but I think we'd be dream chasing, man, if I'm honest. People, I'm going to go to the gym, though, man. It's been a fantastic, just short of an hour with you. I mean, it's nice to talk. Hopefully, the next time we're back, this just for our sanity, there's a new name, people, which we've been linked with Nusa, people. So we'll have to see, man. As I said, don't judge Arsenal at the start of the window. Judge them at the end, people. So, yeah, big up to everyone who's been tuned in, participating in the live stream, everyone who's going to no doubt be watching on the catch-up. If you haven't liked, commented, and subscribed, what are you doing? Most importantly, you lot stay safe, stay blessed. Peace. Always